Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. This time we're tackling a true giant, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And get this, we're going back to the source, the original 1937 version. You guys requested it, and we aim to deliver. This book's like legendary a success manual that's been passed down for generations.
It's wild to think Hill wrote this right in the thick of the Great Depression, you know?
Talk about a time when hope felt like a luxury.
Absolutely. People were desperate for answers, for a way out. And here comes Hill, claiming he's cracked the code after 25 years of research, interviewing over 500 successful people.
500. Okay, so what's this big secret to success then? Spill the beans. Was it some long-lost treasure map?
If only it were that easy. Hill was convinced it wasn't about luck, but about understanding these universal principles, almost like a hidden language of success.
So he spent decades decoding it, studying guys like Carnegie, Edison, Ford,
Right.
all those self-made titans, right?
These guys started with practically nothing and built empires. Hill wanted to know what made them different, what set them apart. And you know what he realized?
What's that?
It all started with desire.
Desire. Like wanting something really, really badly.
More than just wanting, it's about cultivating a burning, all-consuming desire. It's about harnessing that raw energy and directing it toward your goals. Think about it. When you've achieved something remarkable, what fueled you?
Yeah, good point. It wasn't just a well-crafted plan. It was that fire in your belly that pushed you through the tough times.
Exactly. It's like that story Hill tells about Edwin Barnes. Remember him?
Refresh my memory.
He was dead set on working with Thomas Edison, not just for him. He shows up at Edison's lab, practically demanding to be his business partner.
Talk about guts.
That's the thing about Barnes. He had this unwavering belief, this unshakable faith in his own desire. He wasn't afraid to be bold, to ask for what he wanted, even if it seemed impossible. He takes a low-level job at the lab, not for the money, but to be close to Edison, to learn from him. And guess what? It worked.
No way. He actually became Edison's partner.
He did. Talk about a testament to the power of desire.
That's incredible. So what you're saying is identifying that burning desire is the first step.
It's about acknowledging those deep-seated desires we often suppress, and then having the audacity to say, this is what I want, this is what I'm going after.
It's about owning it.
Exactly. And once you've claimed that desire, then comes the faith.
Hold on, Faith. Are we about to get all religious on our listeners?
Not at all. Hill was very clear that this wasn't about religion. It's about developing an unshakable belief in yourself and your ability to achieve those goals.
So it's less about praying for success and more about believing you've got what it takes.
Precisely. It's about reaching a state of absolute certainty that you will achieve what you set out to do. And this is where it gets really interesting. Hill introduces this idea of autosuggestion.
Okay, autosuggestion. Sounds kind of like self-hypnosis. Are we talking swinging pocket watches and chanting mantras?
Not quite. Think of it more like consciously feeding your subconscious mind with positive affirmations, repeating them over and over until they become your reality.
Okay, so more like what we call visualization or positive self-talk today.
Exactly. Constantly reminding yourself of your goals, picturing yourself already there, and truly believing it's possible. It's about rewiring your brain for success.
And there's actual science behind this now, right? I mean, our brains are constantly reshaping themselves based on our thoughts and experiences.
Right. And that's what Hill was getting at even back then.
It's like that crazy story he tells about the enchanted kettle.
Oh, yeah, the birth of Coca-Cola.
It's just a simple recipe cooked up in someone's backyard that turned into, well, Coca-Cola. That's wild.
It all boils down to this. An idea, when fueled by unshakable belief and consistent action, can create something extraordinary. That's the power Hill was talking about.
And he was adamant about harnessing the power of imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And not just for artists and dreamers.
Right. He saw it as this practical tool, essential for anyone who wanted to build wealth or achieve anything significant.
So not just daydreaming, but using your imagination to create a vision for your future.
Exactly. He believed your imagination is the workshop of your mind, the place where you can design and shape your future before it unfolds in reality. And to shape that future effectively, you need specialized knowledge. And I'm not just talking about fancy degrees. It's about becoming a master of your craft, whatever that craft may be. Hill was all about diving deep, not just skimming the surface.
He wasn't impressed by fancy titles, was he?
Not one bit. He was interested in results, in seeing people who could take their specialized knowledge and actually solve problems. He studied people during the Depression, right when things were at their worst. And you know what he found?
What's that?
Even in the toughest of times, people were thriving, not because they had some magical advantage, but because they had skills, specific in-demand skills that other people needed.
They found a need and filled it.
Exactly. And that's such a powerful lesson for us today, too, don't you think?
Totally. Think about it. We live in a world where you can learn practically anything online, become an expert in, well, anything that sparks your interest.
It's amazing. And a bit overwhelming, honestly. But Hill's message is clear. Find your niche, master it, and you'll always be in demand.
Okay, so we've got this burning desire, unshakable faith, and we're out there honing our specialized skills like weapons. What's next?
Well, even with all that, Hill knew it still wouldn't be easy. He kept bumping into this other crucial ingredient.
Oh, I know this one. Persistence.
You got it. That unwavering commitment, that refusal to quit, even when the going gets tough.
Which it inevitably does, right?
Oh, yeah. Life throws curveballs. But Hill found that the most successful people, they treated those setbacks not as failures, but as feedback.
They were always learning, always adapting.
Always evolving. They understood that the path to success isn't linear, it's messy. It's about getting knocked down 7 times and getting up 8.
He had some incredible examples of this too, right? Didn't he talk about Kate Smith, the singer?
Oh yeah, her story's incredible. Imagine facing rejection after rejection, auditioning for Broadway and getting told no every single time. Most people would have given up, right?
I know I would have.
But not Kate Smith. She had this unwavering belief in herself, this grit that just wouldn't quit. She kept showing up, kept honing her craft, and eventually she became a star.
That's the power of persistence in action.
And then there's Fannie Hurst, the writer. Talk about a grind. She spent 4 years working odd jobs in New York, pouring her heart into her writing, facing rejection after rejection.
It's like that saying, overnight success takes about 10 years.
Exactly. Success often comes down to who's willing to outwork everyone else, who's willing to play the long game.
It's about staying in the game even when you feel like throwing in the towel.
100%. Now, while individual effort is crucial, Hill also recognized that we don't have to do it all alone. He was a huge proponent of surrounding yourself with the right people, building a powerful network of support.
And that's where his concept of the mastermind comes in, right?
Exactly. And this wasn't just about casual networking or brainstorming sessions. Hill had a much more strategic vision in mind.
He took it seriously.
He did. He believed a true mastermind group was like having a secret weapon, a team of brilliant minds all aligned towards a common goal.
So it's more like an inner circle, a trusted group of advisors, each bringing their own expertise to the table.
Precisely. It's about creating this synergy, this collective intelligence that's exponentially more powerful than any one individual. Think of Henry Ford and his crew.
Oh, yeah, he had Edison in his corner, didn't he?
He did. And Harvey Firestone, Luther Burbank, these guys weren't just hanging out. They were pushing each other, challenging each other, holding each other accountable.
It was like having a personal board of directors, all committed to each other's success.
That's a great way to put it. And that kind of support system can be invaluable, especially when you're tackling big goals and inevitably facing obstacles.
Because we all hit roadblocks, right? It's part of the process.
Absolutely. And that's where those ghosts of fear that Hill talks about can really trip us up. There are these universal anxieties that we all face at some point. Fear of failure, fear of criticism, fear of the unknown. Hill called them the ghosts of fear.
Ghosts. Sounds a bit dramatic, doesn't it?
Well, he knew these fears weren't just figments of our imagination. They were real, and they could be paralyzing, especially back then during the Depression, when people were dealing with some serious hardship.
Yeah, it's easy to see how those fears could take hold. Loss of income, loss of security. It was everywhere.
Exactly. And Hill wasn't trying to downplay that. He understood how powerful those fears could be. But he also believed we didn't have to be victims to them. He argued that these fears, as real as they felt, were ultimately states of mind.
So we have the power to change how we react to them.
That's the key. It's not about pretending the fears don't exist. It's about choosing not to let them control us. Remember that unshakable faith we talked about. That's the antidote to fear.
So it's about facing those fears head on, armed with that deep-seated belief in ourselves and our abilities.
Absolutely. And not just thinking it, but acting on it. It's about taking that first step, even when you're scared.
It's that burn your ships mentality again, isn't it?
No.
Turning back.
Exactly. When you commit fully, when you leave no room for retreat, you're essentially forcing yourself to find a way forward. And you know what? We humans are remarkably resourceful when we have to be.
We find a way. But it's not always easy, is it? especially when that negativity starts creeping in. And Hill talks a lot about negativity, too.
He does, and he saw it as this insidious force that could sabotage even the best laid plans. And here's the thing about negativity. It can come from outside, sure, from other people, from setbacks, but
It can also come from within.
exactly, from our own self-doubt, our limiting beliefs, that inner critic that whispers, you're not good enough, or what's the point?
Oh, that voice is the worst. How do we silence that inner critic, especially when it feels so personal?
Hill's approach was two-pronged. First, be mindful of your environment, who you surround yourself with.
It's about building that positive support system, just like that mastermind group.
Exactly. Surround yourself with people who lift you up, who inspire you, who believe in your vision. And just as importantly, limit your exposure to those who drain your energy or plant seeds of doubt.
Out with the negative, in with the positive.
Precisely. And the second part is about being vigilant about your inner dialogue. Catch yourself when you start spiraling into negativity.
Oh, easier said than done.
It takes practice. But the more you do it, the better you'll become at recognizing those negative thought patterns and replacing them with positive affirmations, with reminders of your past successes. It's about consciously shifting your focus from what you fear to what you desire.
It's about taking control of our thoughts instead of letting them control us.
That's the essence of it. And that's what Hill was trying to teach us, that we have far more power than we realize. It's not about some magic formula. It's about understanding these universal principles and then putting in the work.
It's about taking action, even when it's scary, even when that inner critic is screaming at you.
Exactly. And never, ever giving up on yourself.
That's the key takeaway here. Think and Grow Rich isn't just about building wealth. It's about building a life of purpose, of meaning. It's about recognizing our own potential and then having the courage to go after it.
Beautifully said. Hill's message is timeless because it speaks to something deep within us, that desire to create, to achieve, to leave our mark on the world.
And that's a message that resonates just as strongly today as it did back in 1937. So, to our listeners out there, whatever your burning desire may be, know that it's possible. Believe in yourself, put in the work, and never give up on that dream.
Yeah.
And that wraps up our deep dive into Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. Thank you for joining us, and remember, anything is possible if you dare to believe it.